Hello everyone and welcome back. This is the first video of 3 to walk through my 30-day sketch challenge. You'll notice that most of my pages are single page layouts. However, there are a couple double page layouts within the challenge. I wanted to point out that even though many of them are single page layouts, you can easily take them and convert them into double page layouts by extending or creating a second page to go with them. If you're a person that only does double page layouts, I challenge you to try the single page. 2 years ago, I only did double pages. Unless it was a double page, it really wasn't considered a layout to me. I tried the single page and I found it very liberating. Oftentimes I have single pictures where I've just taken a snapshot of something, or I download picture from Facebook of my family that I see somebody's posted, and there's only 1 or 2 pictures, and it's not enough for a double page spread. So single pages are great for things like that. A lot of my family, and I don't know about you guys, but a lot of my family is from out of town. And I get a lot of pictures from them, nieces, nephews, things like that, by looking at Facebook. And so I'll just download them and I can scrapbook them this way. So single pages have been very effective for me recently and quite liberating because I don't have to stress about not having enough pictures to fill 2 pages. So I challenge you to give it a try if you haven't. But if you're really stuck on double pages, just extend it out into a double page. Sometimes I'll start with inspiration from a single and then design the second page that just corresponds. Or I take 2 singles and just put them together. But let's get started. So this is my day 1 sketch. And within this particular 30-day challenge, each sketch came along with a prompt. And that really helped me kind of expand, like, not only what kind of sketch did I want to use, but it helped me pick papers and maybe pictures and just kind of go with it. So this one was florals, and you can see this is the sketch here side by side. And what I did basically is I turned my sketch upside down, and then I stayed pretty true to the sketch. However, instead of doing tags, I changed my paper pieces here. What I did is I rolled the end of the paper in and glued it down. That gives it a little bit of extra dimension, and it also gives it some visual interest as well, so you can see the other side of the pattern paper. And you can see it's obviously different colored, so not lots of interest in that paper rolling. I also did some splattering of my shimmer brush up here to create interest around my butterfly, added some liquid pearls, and then I'm a person that loves dimension. So my flowers, which are pieces out of the In Full Bloom kit, they're basically die cut or punch outs, if you will. There's lots of dimensions, so some are flat, many are popped up or double popped, and I have the thin foam tape, I have the thick foam tape, so lots of different levels of dimension. I'll hold that sideways for you so you can see. And even my photo is popped up, and hopefully you can see under there how there's so much dimension on this one. I also want to mention that the In Full Bloom paper packet happens to be the packet that is being highlighted by Close to My Heart this month. So let's move on to our second sketch. This sketch, I also pretty much stayed true to it. My prompt was hearts. So you can see I added a lot of hearts around my photos. I kept the photos pretty much as is in the sketch. They're all 3x3s. I will say that normally I like to map my photos, but I didn't here. What I did instead is I popped some of them up and I left some of them flat to give that interest and dimension, as same as my hearts. Some of them are flat, some of them are popped up. Instead of having a long title at the top though, I did deviate from the sketch a little bit, and I put my title down here in a little pocket with a tag that has my journaling. So I thought that was kind of cute. And this page is done with a mix-in sheet as my base, and then the rest is all scraps from the January 2020 special. So I pulled in just lots of bits and pieces that I had from that, and it pulled together quite nicely. So layout 3 was very fun for me to put together. These are really old pictures that I had from the early 90s. The prompt on this was to use Stencil, and you can see I used the star stencil here. I added 2 colors, so I used the it was desert sand or toffee, I'm sorry, and the I'm drawing a blank. I think I pulled out an old retired color here to match the color of the sweatshirt, which was probably ruby. And then I did the same thing in the letters, which are the wooden letters. I just added a little bit of that color to the wooden letters to make them pop. I did add some vellum here for extra texture and interest. And then I have a really neat story here. So you probably don't recognize the photos, but I got the chance to meet Jonathan Taylor Thomas back in the early 90s. And if you don't know who that is, he was on the popular sitcom at the time, Home Improvement. But more importantly, he was the voice of Simba in The Lion King. So really cool experience that I had through my job at the time. And I wanted to journal that, but I didn't really want to take away from this prettiness. So I created a hidden pocket up here, and I was able to tell the entire story right here with one little picture my life card. And then I could tuck that in. It's at the top, so you can still access it through my page protector. And I didn't have to take away from my actual page and the focus of my photos. So I really like how that one turned out. Now for day 4, my prompt was banners and flags. So you can see I kept very true to the sketch for this one. I went in and added some color to my flowers. So these are just flowers from the sticker sheet. And using my water brush and my ink pads, I simply just added some highlight color to the flowers and to the leaves. I did use my candy apple ink to blend out that color a little bit in my corners. And then the funny story here is that I work from home, so there's occasionally times where I have to actually do hair and makeup and look good so I can do a presentation on camera. So this was a day where I had to be on camera, and I was all dressed up, but I still had my sweats and tinnies on. So my journaling simply just says business on the top and party on the bottom, and working from home. So that was kind of fun. Now for day 5, again, you're going to see that In Full Bloom paper packet, completely different look. Now this sketch really kind of challenged me a little bit. I wasn't quite sure how to interpret it at first. The prompt is just simply a white background, so I did keep true to the prompt. And after playing around with it for a while, I finally came up with my end result, which made me very happy. I decided to do something with a heritage theme. These are my great-grandparents, and fortunately I had the original handwriting at the bottom of the photo, so I cut that and used it as part of my title. And then for the rest of the title, I added in the year that the picture was taken, and this is actually their wedding photo from 1920. For the flowers, I used my thin cuts in the actual pattern paper, curled them up a little bit, added some black ink, used my gold shimmer dots and buttons, black buttons for the center of the flowers. I also stamped with these Perfectly Imperfect stamp set to add some black interest to that. And you'll notice everything is in the visual triangle look. So I've torn my paper and brought in this avocado stripe in the 3 spots as well, just to kind of give it that aged heritage antique look. But I was extremely happy with the way this one turned out. And it's a very different look with the same paper packet as our number 1 page. So moving on to day 6, we have a double page layout. So this is the sketch. The prompt was 6 photos, and I thought it was interesting that the prompt was 6 photos, but the sketch only had space for 5 photos. So I decided to just stick with the sketch and not so much worry about the prompt. You'll see with the circles, I added cardstock and then added somewhat circles like they have in the sketch, but otherwise I stayed pretty true to the sketch. So here you can see that I used the cardstock for the circles, and then I added the extra lines around the circles. I also added a really fun element to this one in doing a custom shaker element. So in the center of the camera, we have the silver stars, and on the outsides here, we have the red bitty beads. And I thought that was a really fun, whimsical element for such a fun, whimsical type of page. Now the bottom half of this is really heavy and colorful, so I decided not to do any texturizing on the top half, just so that it wouldn't get too overwhelming. Now we'll go on to day 7. This challenge was to use a theme collection with a non-themed photo. So what I did with this one, I took paper that would traditionally be a little bit more designed for 4th of July, Independence Day type of photos and papers, and I obviously used them for non-4th of July photos. These are the wonderful men in my life, my husband, son, and 2 grandsons. And this picture is really what inspired me with the Captain America. So I did all of this on the Cricut here with the Captain America. And I cut all those circles and stars and just layered everything together. So this layout has a lot of paper layering to it. And then popping things up, of course, I still have a lot of my dimension in there as well. And then with this one down here, I did something a little different where I have my Captain America, and then I used a acrylic shape star instead of the white paper star. So I added something else for a little extra interest to that. And then I used, of course, some stickers from the same paper packet. For day 8, the sketch was relatively simple. The title was, or the prompt was using scraps. So I used some scraps. I kept to the sketch pretty much except for adding all of these elements here. I only used 1 photo instead of the 2 photos, and I did keep my large title here. So I like the simplicity of this one without having to add a lot to it. Like I said, I used the paper tearing just to give it this interest here without a lot of embellishments thrown on there. Because this was more of a masculine photo and themed, I didn't want the hearts, and I just thought that's really all it needed for this particular page. Now for number 9, I have to say this one stumped me quite a bit as well. I just wasn't really sure what to do with it and where the photos were supposed to go with the drawn circles. The prompt was sewing, and that's something that I just really don't do on my layouts, mostly because it's very intimidating for me. So what I did is I incorporated the sewing by using faux stitching with one of my stamps. So I faux stitched around the edge of the paper. I really liked how they incorporated the 3 different colors. So I kept with that theme and incorporated 3 different colors. I brought my colors up and down from each circle, and I used the blending brush to do that. And then hopefully you can see on camera that I also, in the coordinating color, whether I had a shimmer brush or needed to pull in from my ink pad or watercolors, I splattered in the same colors so that I've got the ink blended, and then I've got the splatters, so a couple layers of ink and visual texture on there. I kept my linear line here by adding this sticker underneath to keep it going straight across. My title is in the same spot, and then I just added some subtitle stickers throughout as well. So I was happy with how that turned out once I got it figured out on what to do with it. Now, our 10th and final one for this particular segment is a circle prompt. So you can see that I did keep kind of true to the sketch, but I added many, many more circles. But again, you've got the visual triangle of the circles. I started with this one right here because it's a scrap piece I had from my January special, and I wanted to use it. From there, I just pulled out nice coordinating colors from my mix-in paper packets and started cutting and making circles to put it all together. Obviously, arrows always go good with circles, and I like circles and arrows together. And here I did something that I also did on the double page layout with the cameras, and I cut multiple stars, and then I layered them on top of each other. Probably about 4 or 5, I'm not sure if you can tell on camera, but what that does is it gives it kind of a dimensional element look, and so it's nice and firm. And it's a little bit different than just popping it up. So kind of another option or look for things. And then I added kind of the faux stitching again. I really liked how that looked to give it the linear look along with the circles. The other thing I really like about this page is it's got these bright circles. So to tone that down a little bit, I used the mink pattern mix-in paper for my base page, and I like how that looked as opposed to another bright white or bright color. So I think the mink worked really well with these bright colors. So that is the first of 10 in my 30-day series. We'll pause there, and then we'll come back with number 11 through 20 and show you some more ideas and techniques. We'll be back soon.